Hi, welcome to the channel.
In my last video, I spoke about my blood pressure and the fact that I'm now on medication. I had the follow-up discussion with the pharmacist that had been scheduled, and without any surprises, I guess, he suggested that I should increase my dosage because my blood pressure readings were still above the recommended norms. So I said to him, I'm really trying hard to lose some weight, and that continues to be my objective. And we agreed that we would talk again in a month. He would send the links again, and I would submit some more readings. And depending on whether that is a good progress or not, either I stay on the current dosage, have an increase in dose, or if all goes according to my plan, they take me off the medication altogether. But I think that's probably unlikely at this point. Let's see what happens.
So now we come to the lifestyle changes that I committed to making. And before we delve into any of the detail, I just want to make it clear that I'm not judging anybody who may consider themselves overweight or inactive for whatever reason. This is purely about myself and about my goals to make changes to my life. So there's certainly no judgment intended in what I cover in the future. I want to touch briefly on mortality. I'm 60 years old, and for the first time in my life, I realized that the future for me is not without end. Now, that's not a morbid thought in any way. That's a good awareness to have for me, because it makes me think that the decisions I make are all important. I want to use my time here on earth wisely. I want to enjoy and be very positive about the future. But having said that, I guess the same is true for anybody. It doesn't matter what age you are. We need to give some thought to the fact that we're not here forever and we don't know how long we are here for. So we should be making decisions that we're comfortable with, that's not going to leave us with any regrets in the future. I think sometimes the status quo is the easy option, and I've decided I don't want to carry on with my current lifestyle, doing what I've been doing over the past 4 or 5 years and carrying that on ad infinitum. It's very easy to get caught up in the rat race. You wake up in the morning, you get dressed, you drive to work, you spend 8 or 10 hours at work, drive home again, sit in front of the TV, you're tired, go to bed, and you wake up the next morning and do exactly the same thing. And we rinse and repeat that process 5 days a week, looking forward only to the weekends, which are really too short. Before you know it, they're gone. If we're lucky, we get a couple of weeks vacation once a year. If you're really fortunate, you get to travel. So that's great. But really the rat race continues, and we're caught up in it with the stresses. And strangely enough, that's the easy option, because change requires to take some risks. You have to take some risks if you want to make a change. So it's the devil you know by staying in the rat race, and it's not necessarily a good thing. My health is really good, and it always has been. It's crazy how we think about our health only when we lose it. When we're ill, we notice it, but we don't appreciate it every day when we wake up in the morning, the fact that we can get up and get going and join the rat race. And the health issues that I do have, high blood pressure, I think are largely my own fault. So they're things that I have potentially or hopefully have control over, that I can make changes to improve the current situation. What I can't deny is that with age comes some deterioration, whether you like it or not. Fitness and mobility that you have and you take for granted when you're young are simply not there anymore if you don't work on it. Apparently also when we get to 60, our muscle mass starts to decline quite rapidly if we don't take action to maintain the muscle mass. So that's something to be very aware of, because it can impact our ability to get up and down and to do the things that we enjoy doing, getting out and about. So that's something to take very seriously. So what's my plan? What's the strategy? What am I going to be up to? Firstly, from a fitness point of view, I think I've been doing pretty well. I do cycle regularly. I walk regularly. I've been doing some weights a little bit. I try and do some stretching. So I think my fitness is not bad overall. That's not something that needs to change. What I have to do is maintain the current activity levels. And it's great now, it's summer, it's easy to do that. But then, thinking specifically of my blood pressure, I think weight loss needs to be a focus for me, since I'm hoping that that's something that's going to make the most difference to the blood pressure readings. If I can get my weight down to a respectable level, then hopefully I can get to a point where I can say I don't need medication anymore. That's my goal.
It's days like today that I really appreciate living in Devon. As you can see from the sky, we got a lovely mixture of clouds and lots of blue. I'm out here without a jacket on, although I still have a waistcoat or a gilet on, and I'm not ready to wear shorts yet, but it's a good sign that it's starting to warm up. It really has, everything's come green. We're now well into spring. I think there's some more rain forecast this week, later in the week, which the farmers will probably be pleased to see. But in the meantime, let's enjoy the sunshine. Hi there.
I made the mistake of Googling height versus weight to see what the recommended weight would be for somebody of my height. And the results certainly didn't cheer me up. Although it shouldn't surprise me. I know that I am overweight. I also know that the standard BMI measurements are not necessarily that accurate, and there's some dispute over whether they're correctly done or not. And I guess a lot depends on your personal build and physique. But even if I assume that I have very heavy bones and a good level of muscle, I'm still significantly overweight. And I need to lose not less than 10 kilograms. 10 kilograms is a lot of weight. And I'm guessing if I lost that, I would feel amazing. And my blood pressure problem would be a thing of the past. Just to be sure, rather than placing total reliance on the BMI charts, I also had a look at what waist measurements indicate. And there was guidance on the NHS site that indicates that your waist measurement should not be more than half of your height. So that didn't help either. I'm definitely overweight. What is amazing is how our bodies can tolerate the additional load and the abuse we give it over the years. I clearly eat too much, I drink too much, I spend too much time sitting behind a desk, not enough time exercising, but I still count myself as fairly fit. I'm able to get out there and cycle, I walk regularly, I can climb the stairs, I don't struggle at all, and I'm very grateful for that. But it's clear that if I don't take action now, I can't rely on that situation continuing. I'm going to start to feel my age, and I think it'll be very quick if I don't take action now. Having said all that, I don't think it's going to be easy to lose weight. Otherwise, I wouldn't be in the situation that I'm in now. It seems quite simple when you think of it. If you burn more calories than you take in, you lose weight. Quite simple, really. But I think the execution is a lot more difficult than it sounds. I've watched a lot of YouTube videos and watched a lot of reels on the various social media sites regarding fitness and health and dieting. And everybody has shown me that it's very possible to have a lean and trim body. Doesn't matter what age you are, doesn't matter what gender you are, there's no excuses. And everybody that you watch on YouTube or wherever seems to suggest that they have the perfect solution. Now, either some of them are lying to us, or there are a multitude of ways to lose weight and get healthy, and I suspect it's the latter. So if you take bits and pieces from each of those people, because I'm sure none of them have the perfect routine, we have to find what works for ourselves. But quite clearly, there should be something that we can cobble together for ourselves that will work. So, what are my objectives? Well, let's be clear about one thing. I still want to enjoy life. I'm not going to give up all the finer things related to food and drink and socializing and just be out there pounding the pavements, running and cycling and walking. That's not going to happen. I don't expect to look like Jake Gyllenhaal did for Roadhouse. That's not my objective. I'm not going to give up all the good food and drink in my life. I will still like to have a drink occasionally and some dessert occasionally. I just can't have it as often or perhaps in the quantities that I do at the moment. That has to change. So let's explore my goal. Currently, I weigh about 89 kilograms, and my goal weight is closer to 72. So that means I'm supposed to lose something like 17 kilograms. Even if that is my ultimate goal, and I'm not sure that I'm ever going to achieve that, I need to break it down into bite-sized chunks, something that I can manage. So, what is it exactly that I'm going to do? Well, first and foremost, I'm going to eliminate snacking. At the moment, I have a bad habit of having biscuits with tea, and I drink a lot of tea, so I'll have some biscuits maybe in the morning and in the afternoon. And then the other bad habit is after dinner, I like sitting in front of the TV and having some ice cream or some kind of dessert. Now that's clearly got to stop. That's going to change. The other thing is alcohol. I probably have a drink about 4 times a week. Now I don't consider myself to be a heavy drinker, but I do enjoy a glass of wine or a cider with a meal. And particularly on the weekend evenings, which is Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I'm having alcohol about 4 times a week. And I'm not expecting to eliminate that completely. I don't think that's my intention. But if I could reduce that to, say, 2 times a week, that would make a significant difference. And also, I need to give more thought to what I drink. They say you should aim for the drinks with lower alcohol content, so lighter beers or light wines, white wines or rosés, rather than the heavy alcohol content items. Surprisingly enough, spirits seem to have a low calorie count, so they're generally not too bad to drink, but as long as you drink them on their own, without going into excess, obviously, just keep it a single drink. It's the mixes that we tend to add with them. Once you add Coke to your brandy or your whiskey or whatever it might be, that's where the calories tend to come from. So that's something to avoid. Depending on the sources you read, some suggest that red wine is also a better option. Apparently it's less harmful to us. But the bottom line is that all alcohol is bad for us. We shouldn't drink any. Our bodies will try and burn off the alcohol before they start burning off the good nutrients, because it's seen as a toxin, I guess. And then just general food choices. I'm not generally a very healthy eater, and I think I need to start paying attention to what I eat. We need to have a good mix of all the food groups so that we're getting all the nutrients. We're supposed to have proteins and fruit and veg and starches, even unsaturated fats, dairy products, or an alternative if that's what you prefer to have. But we need to have that every single day. We need to have enough of everything so that we're getting the right nutrients. We should avoid processed foods altogether. Hydration is important, so it's important to drink enough water all the time. And I guess there's several other things that I'm not covering or not going to try and get into that I probably should be considering. And if I can start to make a difference with the type of food that I eat, as well as the portions, then hopefully that's going to make a difference. So, with those simple objectives and my current exercise levels not reducing anything, I'm hoping that I can start to make inroads in my weight management. So, I'm going to get started. and I'll keep you up to date. I'll let you know on the progress. So let's see how it goes. Thanks very much for watching.